Me Too movement in 2017 raised awareness to numerous stories of sexual abuse of women in the workplace. And not only was the movement successful in exposing individuals like Harvey Weinstein, it even had an impact on public policy. But like anything, the pendulum swings both ways. Despite its success, the Me Too movement promoted extreme slogans such as "Believe all women," and along with it created a climate of fear where innocent men were unfairly accused and reputations destroyed. And the most notable was the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, where Heard wrote an op-ed alleging that she was a victim of abuse.
You know, it wouldn't be so bad if it was, once it's proven guilty, then bad things happen to the man. But it's not. It's just the accusations itself. That man's already been fired or suspended or, you know, ready to go to jail just because of the accusations. They don't even give these men a voice to say, I wasn't even here, I wasn't even there or anything. They just straight up believe the woman. So the women just have so much power now because of this movement. It makes it hard for anybody to even take them seriously about anything because they can lie about anything.
And it wasn't until 4 years after getting canceled from everything when Depp won the defamation trial for the false allegations. Do you think that in a certain way Me Too movement also went too far?
The weaponization of the Me Too movement. And people should be telling their daughters this. I am going to tell my daughter, as a father, if anything bad ever happens to you, you don't necessarily have to go to the police and go through a trial. Maybe you don't want to do that. But when it happens, go to the medical center and get the fucking evidence document. Because if you don't, in 15 years' time, there's a chance people won't believe you. And there should be a baseline for any criminal evidence. If I beat a man up in the street right now and his black eyes have faded and the year is 2042, they should not be able to put me in jail for assault because there's reasonable doubt that I did not do that. But the weapon...
This is why most men ask the question, did this really happen? Because the time period happened so long ago. It's hard for most people to automatically assume this was correct.
Is that for teenage boys now, they are so terrified of the consequences of putting a foot out of line. It's hard enough being a young teenager, working out how things are, working out how to do dating and all of that, without the terror that if you touch in the wrong place at the wrong time, you may find that your whole life is destroyed.
See, I
and there
like
is
that
far
terror.
too much. Well,
I like that terror. They're young boys. I can't even comprehend that you want to instill such fear into young boys' like minds.
I like that.
As a
I
mother
think
of
that
a
men
teenage
should be
boy, I
frightened.
don't like
Really?
that
That's
terror.
I
the
do.
malicious thing I've ever
That
heard.
is
I think that
awful.
men should be frightened
I think
to
you'd
touch
feel
women in a way
differently
that
if you
they're
were,
not
if
comfortable
you were.
with.
But we're talking about
Yeah, but we're not
teenage
talking
years.
about.
Yeah,
We're not
we're
talking
talking
about.
about
We're
teenagers.
talking
yeah, but
about
it's an
young
interesting
children.
thing, mate.
See, this is the part where they conflate someone maliciously trying to hurt someone and harass someone or touch someone to a normal interaction between people sometimes. Sometimes you bump into things. Sometimes you do, you touch each, like again, the touching someone in the back of their back or whatever. I don't see that as any type of sexual harassment or sexual thing, but some women do. That's the crazy thing. Men don't have a blueprint of what we can and can't do because all these women have different blueprints for themselves. And if you don't look a certain way, you fall into a different blueprint than the original blueprint that if you looked really good.
Mate, you see, I would say that attitude actually is part of the problem too.
It
That
is.
is that's to me toxic femininity.
It is.
That is saying you should all be terrified, you men, if you put one.
Assaulting.
Well, I think we all understand what sexual
What is an
assault is.
assault?
What Isabel's talking about is that young teenage clumsiness
really
in many
hard.
cases, which is now being recategorized as assault. Is that a problem?
It's not being recategorized as assault. It's always been assault. It's
No, kids being kids doing certain things. Like, how can you call some of that assault? Like, kids do shit all the time. Like, if kids were wrestling and body slammed each other, would you consider that assault within each other? No, they're having fun. They're fooling around.
just we're finally talking about
I don't agree
it.
with that, but
Like in elementary school, wrestling was huge. Like WWE, WWF stuff was huge. I watched it with my mom all the time. All of us in elementary school were practicing wrestling moves on each other and just like body slamming and choke slamming and all these things. And it was just fun. We weren't malicious at each other. We were just enjoying, like fooling around.
I do think it's really hard for a 16, 17-year-old boy now in this environment to know even how to start
they are all
having kind of some
terrified.
kind of physical relationship with a woman.
Those good boys are all terrified. I know that from talking to my son. He's just like, I'm.
Exactly. And this really affects the good boys. Because the bad boys, the bad men, are going to do what the fuck they want. They never cared about the rules or the laws in the first place. But the good boys do. They follow it very rigidly because that's the law. That's the rules that was set in front of them. So good men just follow rules. So it's tough for them to even understand what to do now because they're trying to follow the rule. And the bad actors, they're always going to be bad actors. So this really only affects the good actors in a sense.
Just not going there. Is that healthy?
Yes, I think it is actually. I think it's better to not have a physical relationship than to have one that could ruin a woman's life.
But then how do they ever start?
Well, don't. If you're not 100%
Don't.
sure,
What are we going
don't.
for?
What are you going to have? A bunch of neutered
Celebrate.
boys who
But
never
it's
had...
so obvious.
We actually
It's
do
sort
have
of
that.
like-
Gen Z is having far less sexual relationships
Yes,
than any.
they are.
Look at her just laughing at the fact that these men are not getting sexual access like they used to be and that they're lonely.
So anyways, there's been the Me2 movement has happened since the last time I was here. Well, no, it had to happen, Jesus Christ. But, you know, I think it's dying down. You know? I don't know, I think they got everybody. All right?
They did go after many
Just
people.
judging by the stories, I feel like they kind of got everybody. Because the first stories that came out, they were fucking unbelievable. It was just guys taking their dicks out at work, like, look at it, look at it. Fucking blocking doors and jizzing on plants. You're fucking at home watching, Jesus Christ, people did this shit?
Exactly. I was like, what the?
I remember this one poor woman said she was a PA, went into some director's trailer, and he allegedly came running out, masturbating vigorously while holding a shrimp cocktail.
Is that assault? Like he is just doing himself. He happens to be naked, I guess, and you see his junk. But did he assault you? Did he go after you? Did he just come out playing with himself? Like that's where I'm like confused about that particular story. If he's just playing with himself, how is that assault? Like I'm not really sure. I don't. It's just kind of confusing.
I swear to God. I know that's fucked up, but I gotta tell you something. It's a little bit funny that she felt the need to use the adjective vigorously after she said he was masturbating. He was masturbating vigorously. I'm thinking in my head like, as opposed to what?
Slowly caressing.
As far as I know, there is only one successful way to perform that act, and that would be vigorously. Is there another way to do it? Can you do it passively? You know? Is that how Sting does it? Is that how he's able to fuck for hours and hours? Fans a little air on it, he puts on fields of gold, just lets that thing rise up, just letting it marinate, right? Yeah, so the stories were big in the beginning, like, oh my God, what a bunch of fucking animals. And then they just started tapering off. And about, I don't know, 6 months in, they just sounded like bad dates. It was like, he was 10 minutes late, the chicken was cold, I think I was raped, career over. What about my side of the story? Fuck your side of the story. You have a
Believe
dick and
all
balls.
women.
We don't want to hear it. Yeah. It's really weird how the whole thing, it went from like nobody listening, men not listening to women at all, to just this total overcorrection that anything they fucking said means it happens, you know? They got these hashtags like, you know, believe women. Believe women, right? It's a little open-ended, huh? Just straight across the fucking board. All of them. Every last fucking one of them. What about the psychos? What about the ones that key your car and light your shit on fire because you didn't fucking answer a text? What about them? Huh?
You know how many women I've dated that get so upset at me when I don't when I look at their text and then I don't reply to it just because I'm busy, I'm doing other things. And yeah, sometimes I'll get the text and I'll look at it and it gives them that red message, but I don't have time to reply, nor it was important enough for me to reply, so I don't. And I'll get an earful or a text full the next day.
How about you believe like 88% and that last 12% that's out of their fucking minds? You know, I think that's a fair percentage, wouldn't you? No? Are you too afraid to not believe? No, I know. That's the world we're fucking living in right now.
Yep.
No, everything has just become fucking absolutes in the States. It's fucking nuts. Like that Colin Kaepernick guy, right? You knew when he was like protesting during the national anthem, no one was going to listen to what the fuck he had to say. No matter how much he explained it. He goes, I'm taking a knee during the national anthem. This is a protest about police brutality, the way people of color are treated. We'd like to open a dialogue. He got about halfway through that. People are like, my brother's fighting in Iraq, you fucking piece of shit! And it's just like, buddy, nobody is saying your brother isn't in Iraq fighting. You're not listening. This is about police brutality. My brother's a firefighter. He watched 9/11 on television. No, buddy. Nobody's saying that your brother's not a firefighter. I got a bone spur in my heel. I can still stand up.
This is exactly the same thing with the Me Too movement. As soon as we question, like, are you sure this is what happened or whatever it is? What? You don't believe me? Am I making stuff up? Like, no. We just need to get the story straight, and we need to kind of understand what happened. We just can't truly believe people after years of an incident going by. People's memories are shit. People's memories are shit when it's a few days after. We get shitty witness testimonies all the time because people's memories are shitty. So it's reasonable for people to have some kind of doubt or some kind of questioning when it's been so long.
During the fucking song, buddy, nobody is saying you can't see a fucking podiatrist, all right? You're not listening. That's what it became. It went from not listening to women to just believe women, right? And then, and then people just like, did you see that story? Did you read this story? You can't make something like that up. I always want to be like, well, did you see Star Wars? I mean, somebody made that up. They made like fucking 15 of them, you know? People can make shit up, right? You're part of the fucking problem. Get the fuck out, you know?
This is the Cat Williams thing. It's like, why would they lie? Why would they lie? Quote Cat Williams. Who knows why these people lie? Like, liars are liars. They want to lie. I've known quite a few habitual liars. You know, like the clips that we always like, why you fucking lying? I've known many people that are habitual liars. They lie literally about almost everything that happens in their life. Even things that I've experienced with them, they will tell me some other story that I'm just like, that's not what happened, motherfucker. Like, I was there. Like, it is a crazy thing to think that people don't want to lie because of whatever other reason.
I've heard so many people say, do you really think that the Me Too movement is actually going to help the evolution of women? Because, we don't want men to feel, threatened by, and I'm like, yikes.
That's the whole point, is to show that you can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
There is a consequence.
No.
There is a loss. And
There has always been consequences. I mean, people see it all the time. The movement did point out some really bad actors that were really well protected. I do agree about that. But not everyone in the workplace or every man out there have this suspicious predator appetite to want to just harm and harass women all the time.
and you will lose your career or your job if you do.
See, like that part right there, you will lose your career, you will lose your job. Like, you guys are so into that punishment for the men, you guys don't even question what's going on with the women's side. It is just, I just want this man to be taken care of.
You do these things, and it's almost like it's a preposterous thing now that there's consequences.
Yeah, it really is for women. Women get to lie, cheat, steal, and very little happens to them. Men lie, cheat, and steal, we're in jail. And we're in jail for a long period of time. Women, you guys have it pretty easy.
I feel like it's up to us to be like, no, boys won't be boys. Boys will be held accountable for their actions.
I've heard so many people.
This is just worse when you get celebrities like this, young celebrities that never experienced life enough to understand what's going on. She doesn't really act or anything that I know of, right? So how much is she in the industry to see some of these things herself? Or is she just, wanting to virtue signal for all the women out there that might, give her some clout? I love comedians.
Was the worst run movement I've ever seen. It should have been a
Like, I really wish I could do the Cat Williams and Shay Shay interview. I really wanted to do it because a lot of people are talking about it, but just me liking comedy, it doesn't affect. It's hard for me to relate to that particular interview, other than my enjoyment of comedy. And most people, they're putting a race thing into it, and I don't really want to deal with that.
conversation and you weren't even allowed to ask questions. And I know men had questions because I had questions. Like, I'd hear some women say something that was a Me Too, and I'd be like, hey, the thing that you just said is a Me Too is actually the thing that I like. So how we tell men about that? Some women would be like, men shouldn't use their power to have sex. And then other women would be like, I like when men use their power to have sex. And then men were like, can you...
This is the problem with Me Too, right? Because there's women that you have no clue where they fall under the spectrum. So best to just not even deal with them.
tell us which one you are? And we were like, no, but for different reasons. Some women would be like, this man, he hit on me at work. It made me uncomfortable. That's harassment. It's like, okay, so do you want no one to hit on you at work? No, I only want the men who I want to hit on me at work. Okay, do you want to make a list of who they are? No, I'm mysterious. Well, then buckle up, Nancy Drew. You got some uncomfortable times headed your way.
Exactly.
Me too.
Looks like the world owes Trevor Bauer a big apology. Trevor was able to finally vindicate himself and prove what he had been saying all along, that he was innocent, and that this woman, his accuser, was nothing more than a liar. And Bauer's evidence was a bombshell.
Next victim, star pitcher.
He got lucky, dude. Even with evidence and shit like that, even Jonathan Mayer still gets freaking, a sentence.
For the Dodgers. A text Lindsey Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is 51 mil. Bitch, you better secure the bag, was the response. But how was she gonna do that? Need daddy to choke me out, she said, being an absolute whore to try to get in on his 51 million.
The interesting part, no one for a second questioned her story. I have to ask, what does that say about our society and its attitudes towards men? That they are all deemed to be scumbags if a woman says so? The Me Too movement, which originally gave way to give a voice to actual victims, has now transformed into a manipulative tactic for women to make excuses for their own degenerate and immoral behavior. And the Me Too movement. It's clear it means nothing anymore, except to strip innocent men of their power.
YouTuber Loaf was recently accused of sexual harassment by a lady in a public theme park.
Well, two white guys and a black guy.
I'm half white. However, they had all the interaction with the lady on video, which showed these claims were false.
You cut the line.
Huh?
Why'd you cut the line?
I'm talking to my cousin.
No,
I'm not going on a ride.
No, I watched you though. You cut the whole line.
I'm talking to my cousin. All these people are waiting for their kids to get off. They're not in line.
No, but I've been waiting this whole time.
You can't get on here anyway. You're too tall.
Where'd this guy come from? What's wrong with being too tall? It's a kid ride. Kids, like, is there a height limit?
What are you talking about? Yes, I can.
No, that's fun. You can't get on this ride. You're too tall.
Are you discriminating against me because I'm tall?
Hey, this dude. You know him? I mean, you can ask him, but he's not gonna let you on the ride. You're too tall.
No, but some of us are waiting and like out there all day, and she just cut the line.
You say I'm discriminating. All of these parents.
So to be able to cut the line and not be in trouble for it, they accuse this YouTuber of sexual harassment. This is the shit that's going on. This is the shit that women, I don't think, see. Like, there's malicious women out there. Women just don't want to take accountability. The easiest way for them to not to take accountability is to accuse the other party. And believe all women? Look, guess who's already in the disadvantage?
Parents are waiting for their kids to get off the ride. None of them are waiting to get on the ride. None of them are waiting to get on the ride. There is no line.
No, like
And it's always some blue-haired, ring-nosed feminist, huh?
I'm just trying to go on the ride.
What are your thoughts on people being falsely accused of crimes such as this? YouTuber Loaf